Welcome to Accurate Basketball, a father-son podcast from fans to fans on NCAA D1 men's college basketball and fatherhood and sonship. I'm your host, Curtis D. Acker, here with my color commentator and father, Mark Acker. Dad, let's get right into it. It was a great week for college basketball. Opening week, we had our first big Monday, saw a lot of high-scoring games, saw a lot of games that were very big in the score differential. That was more D1 teams versus D2 teams. What did you see in this opening week of basketball?
I saw basketball. That's what we're all here to watch, right?
Of course you did.
Yeah, I've did enough research and read enough articles about predictions of teams and players and conference champions and all that stuff. I'm ready to watch the game. So it was great to get back in and start. And as you said, a lot of first week games are often those big teams against small teams. So you see some crazy scores, but it was also obviously very fun to see a couple upsets along the way, or maybe what we would consider upsets. So really got the fire going on the season.
Yeah, there were some upsets, and there wasn't even just D1 versus D2 teams. There were also some D1 and D1 competition where we saw some really, really high quality games.
Yep, exactly.
And that might not be high quality in skill talent, but it's high quality in competition versus one another.
Exactly.
Let's get right into it. So to break down today's podcast, we're going to be talking about 3 games that we saw this week that we thought were really good. Then we're going to give you 10 games for the upcoming week until we release our next podcast on games that you should watch. There's no reason why you should miss these games other than the fact that some of these games might be playing at the same time. And then finally, we'll hit our staple here at Accurate Sports, which is Acorn's Attic. But we'll start with Louisville versus UMBC. So the Louisville Cardinals defeated the UMBC Retrievers at the KFC Young Center on Monday. They beat them 94-93 in a game that saw 14 lead changes and 11 score times. That I predicted before the game. I texted you that I was like, I guarantee you UMBC is going to win this game. Because Louisville was very suspect in preseason. But they were able to find something tonight that made it work. Obviously, there were 14 lead changes and 11 score ties. But I think the deciding factor in this one was that Denny Crum was honored at halftime. And for those of you who don't know, Denny Crum is a Hall of Fame coach who won the national championship with Louisville in 1980 and 1986. Crum passed away earlier this year on March 9th at the age of 86. And before Crum passed, he spent a lot of time giving back to the university that gave him a platform to become the Hall of Fame coach that he is today. And a note real quick from the game. For preseason polls, Louisville is expected to finish 14th, which is second last in the ACC, and UMBC is 6th of 9th in the America East. But I think they're going to finish a little higher than that, but kind of based off of how they played in their first game versus Louisville. This happened on Monday, the first big Monday that we had. And just a note from the actual players themselves, 2 players had a career night. Mike James had a career high with 25, shooting 6 of 12 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, and 11 for 12 from the line. And he also had a double-double, getting 10 rebounds. And then on the other side, that Mike James plays for Louisville, for UMBC, Deion Brown had a career high with 28 points, 11 for 20 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 4 for 7 from the field. Dad, this was a game that was back and forth, as I said, the entire time. But the whole first half, as I was watching it, because you didn't get to watch this game. I was the one that watched this game. And from the entire first half, it seemed like UMBC was pretty much in charge the entire time, and Louisville didn't really have an answer. They were just kind of fighting to stay back into it or not let the lead completely slip away from them. And then they have the Denny Crum ceremony. And obviously the players are in the locker room, but you can hear what's going on outside the locker room, and you know that Denny Crum's being honored. And I think that was really the push that they needed in the second half to really be like, okay, we're winning this home game. And after that halftime, they seemed to have an answer for everything afterwards, especially at the very end of the game where Trey White, who's the transfer in from USC, had a big steal at the very end, which set up JJ Traynor for a big alley-oop slam dunk to win the game. And Trey White finished the game with 11 points, and Traynor finished it with 12. Tyler Johnson, who is a freshman, his speed was just elite. He finished the game with 12 points for Louisville. Sky Clark was great with his shot fakes, and he really did a good job of setting up opportunities for plays for others. He finished the game with 11 points. Tyler Johnson finished with 12. Then for UMBC, it was Bryce Johnson. It was the Bryce Johnson show in the first half. He was incredible in the first half. He ended up finishing the game with 21 points, and he shot 8 for 14 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the stripe. And unfortunately fouled out with 1:28 left to play. I think if he was in the game, UMBC is winning this game. And
that was a lot. I mean, I know you were texting me during the game, and I was like, I want to flip over to this game and watch it.
Yeah.
But I was thinking I was watching another game at the point, so I didn't have that opportunity. But again, just like you had said, what a fantastic game to sounds like to have watched. On one that you going into it might have been like, it's the Denny Crum tribute game, so let me tune into that. But then the next thing you know, you actually watched a pretty fun basketball game with two teams really kind of showing their wares right off the bat here and showing what they want, what they're made of.
It was really back and forth. And really the story of this game was bad shooting from Louisville. They only shot 14.3% from 3-point and 61.5% from the line, so 62% from the line, which is not those games typically. Like, we're going to look at one in a second here where that translated to a loss when you didn't execute from beyond the arc and you didn't execute from the line. But the story of this game and what that team didn't do to get the edge to make up for that lack of threes and free throw making was Louisville out-rebounded UMBC 47-35, which is a big stat. When you out-rebound someone by 12 rebounds, like, just talk about as a coach why you preach the importance of rebounding to anyone, because it's not a glory stat, you know what I mean? It's not or the pretty play, it's a gritty play.
It's a fundamental, right? Yeah. It's a fundamental of basketball, just like ball faking, handling the ball, dribbling, all those basic things. This is just as important. And you mentioned the 12, right? 12 rebound differential means 12 additional touches of the ball.
Yeah.
There's 12 chances to score that the other team didn't have, more than the other team had to score. So if those are all baskets, that's 36 points, right? 12 times 3, best case scenario, that's potentially 36 additional points that Louisville had a chance to chip in just because they out rebounded the other team, right? We preach rebounding a lot as a basic starting point in our program. Rebounding is not necessarily all about athleticism or skill. A lot of that is will and determination to get the ball or deny your opponent to get the ball. Right, that's just physical work. That's where if I want to say, I can't say I thrived, but certainly in an area that I was pretty good at was rebounding, just by doing that hustle thing. So that determination thing. So I relate to it directly.
One more point I want to make here about that game before we move on is Denny Crum's signature red blazer will be on Louisville's jersey on their shoulder the entire season to honor him, and also his seat was dyed or painted black in the stadium where the rest of the seats are white. Denny's wife, Susan Sweetie Crum, said the fans were just important to the team's success when Crum was coaching, as himself and the players were, and it's just important to the team's success now with Coach Payne. And she also threw in a note too. She said Crum would be embarrassed and he didn't really like the spotlight. So just kind of shows the humbleness of the guy. The guy just wanted to be out there and coach. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Right. That was a great tribute and fitting, and obviously to see the team rally behind that halftime ceremony, bring the victory home was cool thing to see for a really storied program.
Yeah, and they almost ended up taking the loss, actually. One thing I want to talk about, too, is the reffing at the end of this game was really sloppy. They missed an out-of-bounds call. Darius Smith was standing out of bounds and had the ball in his hands with, I think it was 4 seconds remaining in the game. And he got fouled and ended up making 1-on-1 for free throws, which historically he's not a great free throw shooter. But he made the first one, missed the second one. UMBC actually got the offensive rebound, and they just weren't able to get up another shot. After that, Louisville was able to play some solid defense. And lastly, Brandon Huntley Hadfield, he only had 5 points, but he had 10 of those 47 rebounds that Louisville was ended up getting. So he was a big piece in that win. Exactly. Even though he wasn't getting a lot of buckets, he was making the grit plays to get that win.
It's like a Thursday, Friday March Madness game, kind of with the level of intensity and back and forth. It sounded like. So
yes, absolutely. It was that. It was your. I don't want to say 3 seed, but because I don't think we're going to see either of these teams in March. No, but the actual style of the game, or the actual feel to the game, was definitely a March style game. But it's like your 5-12 seed, you know what I mean, or maybe even your 4-13 seed, like a team that you don't really know if they're gonna upset them, right? But they did pretty good, so you kind of think they might upset them, and then the 4 team is back behind the whole game, and then just rallies back to get the win.
Right, awesome, good stuff.
Yeah, it was a good vibe game. Next, we'll move on to James Madison upsetting Michigan State. So the James Madison Dukes played the Michigan State Spartans, and they also faced off on Monday. JMU is the first team in the preseason poll for the Sun Belt, and Michigan State was voted second in the preseason poll for the Big Ten, and they're also ranked 4th overall in the AP poll. This is the first game to head to overtime this season, with the Spartans losing 79-76 to the Dukes. So the first team that was ranked that did not end up securing a victory. Dad, is it time to celebrate for James Madison, or is it time to hit the panic button in Michigan State?
Well, we certainly got to celebrate a win, especially over a top-ranked team for James Madison. Right, that was fantastic, and they came out right off the opening tip and just set a tempo. I was really impressed with James Madison's play, especially early on. But for Michigan State, no, I don't see it that way. Again, although James Madison, I thought it played a fantastic game, Michigan State had really I thought in the big picture, the end to end of the whole game, they really dictated the play the most. Obviously, a lot of shots didn't drop. Not only the threes stand out. But they missed several 13 free throws or 14 free throws, and they missed a lot of open looks even inside. Sorry about that. Yeah, even inside, they dribble drives that came in were open. Balls just weren't falling. Putbacks, they were just not, that were inside. They were open and uncontested, just didn't fall. So I'm not worried about Michigan State. Certainly, with Coach Izzo, their experience that he brings and that the team has at the leadership level. I'm not worried about them. It was just a little blip for me. Well, they'll rally around it, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing, you're not going to shoot 5% because they only shot 1 for 20 from 3.
Right.
You're not going to shoot 5% every game.
No, not at all.
At 3, and they also only shot 62% from the line, which is something that I don't think is going to happen every single game either. And obviously, Tyson Walker was great this game. He scored 35 points, shooting 12 from 26 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3, which stayed consistent among most of the team. The only player to make a 3 was Trey Holloman, who was 1 for 2. And then Tyson Walker also shot 11 for 17 from the line. Had a little bit of a knee issue in the second half as well. So that's something to be possibly concerned about in Michigan for Michigan State. But he was able to fight through that, and it seems to be that he's all right. But Cohen Carr, I thought, was great as well. I thought Carson Cooper, the backup center, played really good post defense. I also thought the freshman, Jeremy Fears Jr., I thought he played really solid defense for his first game. I would have liked to see more from Malik Hall. Would have liked to see a 3 actually drop. But think about it. If 1 3 gets dropped, this game's tied. If one more person makes 3, this game is tied. But I agree with what you said, that it just seemed like shots weren't falling. They were hoisting up a lot of good open shots, and they just didn't have the right touch on it this game.
Right.
But I know we're talking about what Michigan State did wrong. What did James Madison do right this game?
Well, good question. Oops, sorry, a little blip there. James Madison, to me, oops, I'm looking at the wrong stuff. My bad.
Oh, good.
So here's what I saw from James Madison. Number one, again, we talked about rebounding in the last game. Positionally, they were really solid on that end. They just clean, good, sound defensive positioning. They were scrappy on the defensive end. I think they gave Michigan State especially early on in the game. They were giving Michigan State a little bit of trouble settling into what they're doing. So they were able to establish themselves early in that regard. As the game went on, though, and especially in the second half, to me, Michael Green III really was an offensive star. He made several baskets and was a catalyst for a lot of that. Their scoring that came in the second half. Once, like I said, even though I thought Michigan State dictated the play, overall, Green just was able to open things up on their end. And I know you had mentioned another player that was you thought was a highlight for James Madison as well.
Right. Well, in the first half, Terrence Edwards Jr., I thought he was the star for James Madison. He made a disgusting drive and look away behind the back, bounce pass to set up. I can't remember who it was, but he set up someone for the assist. It might have been TJ Bickerstaff, who is the nephew, actually, of JD Bickerstaff, the Cleveland Cavaliers coach. But another thing, too, is when Julian Wooden and Noah Friedel went out, who also played very solid games, but they fouled out.
Right.
And they weren't overly involved in the offense. They were just playing solid defense, I felt like. Raekwon Horton stepped up with the big 3 at the end of the game when those two guys fouled out. And
there's only 3 points in the game, too, right?
It was that. Yeah. Yes, Raekwon Horton's only 3 points, but it was the 3 points that were needed. It was like that was the difference between UMBC upsetting Louisville, or the potential is that I didn't feel like when Bryce Johnson went out, I didn't really feel like anyone stepped up that was coming into the game versus James Madison. They hit their open looks when Raekwon Horton hit it when he needed to.
Right, you never know when that opportunity is going to come up for your name's going to be called. I think and that exact play when Horton hit the 3-pointer, to me, as a coach, I'm thinking, who do you want to take the shot, right? Who would Izzo want to have to take that shot or give the ball to try and make a play in that last possession situation? And it would have been Horton. He hadn't done much offensively the whole game. Played great defense, but he stepped up and hit it. Good for him. You got to reward that for sure.
Yeah, for real. And
always be ready.
Also, TJ Bickerstaff had a great game as well. Yeah. He was just dominant on the boards. He had 14 rebounds, which was the highest out of anyone in this game. He was 8 of 13 from the field. Didn't hit any threes. He was 0 for 1 from 3 and also 5 for 10 from the line. But he's also historically not a good shooter from the stripe. But he finished the game with 21 points and, as I said, 14 rebounds. So double-double from him. And Edwards was 5 of 13 from the field, 2 of 5 from the line, and 12 from 13 from the line. So he made up for Bickerstaff's not shooting well from the line. That's where your free throw shooting came from. He finished the game with 24 points. And then on Michigan State side, you got Cohen Carr. Dad, you were really impressed with his game. What did you see out of Cohen Carr?
Yeah, what energy and athleticism! Fantastic. He really changed the tide of the game in that regard. I thought even was a bit intimidating for James Madison at times when he was out there. He reminded me of, not comparing him at all to him, but he reminded me some of the athleticism when Zion Williamson came into the league for Duke. It's just another level of speed power combination there. So yeah, he was really, aside from being a disruptor in the game, he was just really fun to watch as a fan.
Yes, I would agree. He was a difference maker. He was one of the main reasons why Tyson Walker. It was pretty much the Tyson Walker show from Michigan State. But when Cohen Carr was in the game, Cohen Carr was making plays. And I know you say Zion Williamson, not in size and just pure dominating ability, but in athleticism, as you just talked about. Yeah, the guy's a high flyer. Yeah, exactly. That freshman came to play.
Right, and he didn't just do it on the offensive end or just those splash plays. He was scrappy on the defensive end. He did a lot of the little things too, right? He has some very good fundamentals inside of that, on top of that. So
yeah,
fun to watch. Will be fun to watch him go.
Totally agree with Cohen Carr. Your Cohen Carr assessment. Quick note from the game. This is James Madison's second time defeating a ranked opponent. Their first time came December 29th, 1992 versus number 19 ranked California. And the final score of that game was 90-75. So the last time they beat a ranked opponent was before I was even born, which is crazy.
Yep.
But they did it again this Monday, and obviously the freshman class at Michigan State is something that they should be excited for them developing over the next couple years here, because if it's not this year that they're going to be that number 4 team that they're currently ranked at, it's going to be in the next couple years here.
They're coming, right? Another wave for Coach Izzo for sure.
Yes. But let's speak of freshmen that did step up in our next game. We got Auburn Baylor. So, Dad, you want to take away this one? Let us know about. We both saw this game as well. We both saw James Madison, Michigan State. We both saw Auburn Baylor. But why don't you take this one away? Break it down for us.
Yep. All right. Sounds good. Yeah. Auburn Baylor was played Tuesday night. The Tigers established an early, intense physical presence in this game. Really set the tone early, and out to a 43-34 halftime lead. It had Baylor scrambling to try to keep pace with Auburn's presence. Right. That's when you think of Coach Bruce Pearl and his personality that he brings. Auburn definitely, I thought, met his personality and his approach to the game in that first half for sure. But then in the second half, right off the bat, Baylor came out. Freshman Jacoby, you mentioned freshman, right? Jacoby Walker, 2 early buckets. Walter, excuse me. Yep.
Yeah.
Set the tone. He had 28 points overall and really took over the game from a scoring perspective in the second half. And the Bears clawed their way back to an 88-82 victory that went in the victory. The game went back and forth. It was another one of those back and forth kind of games. The score didn't necessarily fluctuate as many times as the Louisville game, what you had mentioned earlier, but the flow of the game was very much back and forth. I kept going. Which team's going to win? Which team's going to win? He was going to pull it out at the end, and it was hard to tell. So, another thing cool about the game was it wasn't played at Baylor or at Auburn. Right? It was a neutral court at the Stanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So just having that kind of neutral court almost made the game even more interesting, just to promote that back and forth. So very fun game to watch. One of the highlights for me towards the end, which I really thought we both thought this propelled Baylor to the end, was Yves Missy's steal and dunk at 2:45 left to play. That really,
Yes.
we both said right on the spot. That was the play that really finished it off for him.
Yeah, coming off the inbound steal too, that's a huge deflator.
Exactly, that's right.
Tied,
and
then
should not happen.
Happens.
Exactly. On the Auburn side, Misi's actual high school teammate, freshman guard Aiden Holloway, he led the Tigers with 19 points. So really, really good start for him. Jonai Broom, he chipped in with 16 points. A lot of scoring, a good scoring increase for him from last year. However, they just didn't have enough firepower at the end. Once Baylor took that lead in the last minute or two, it looked like Auburn's offense kind of sputtered, got a little panicky, and it just wasn't able to bring them up to bring it up to a tie at the end of the game. So it was again great game. So
right. Well, I thought Baylor played too much bully ball in the first half, and instead of playing when they ran an off-ball screen for Jacoby Walter in the second half, and they need to run more plays like that for him. I mean, Jacoby Walter obviously had a fantastic game. He ended up shooting, what was it? It was 7 of 13 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, and 10 for 10 from the line. So perfect from the stripe so far. And as you said, he had 28 points. Ray Dennis, Ray J Dennis, he shot 6 for 10 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 2 for 2 from the line, ended up with 15 points. Jalen Bridges, I thought, did a good job. He played that bully ball well. I thought Jalen Bridges did a good job of playing bully ball. And then Yves Misi was obviously fantastic. I thought Langston Love did a decent job of playing that bully ball as well. But they also let someone else play bully ball, and then they would kick it out to Langston Love to give him the open look. And they need to do more like that. I thought they improved on doing that in the second half than they did the first half. I think they still played a little too much bully ball in the second half. But one thing that they did really well, I thought, on the defensive end was they forced Auburn to stop playing as a team. One thing that stuck out to me about Aiden Holloway was his fast break passing ability.
Oh yeah,
it was incredible.
Yep.
It was the scary. It's scary. It's scary for other teams' defenses. They're gonna have to watch for that all season long, because he had one to Dylan Cardwell, another one to Jonai Broom, and that's gonna be consistent throughout his entire career here at Auburn, whether he's a one and done player or maybe, I don't know, with the skill level of Auburn, I think, or where Auburn's projected to finish for March Madness, my guess would be that Aiden Holloway is going to be a 2-year player. But he's not only scary on offense, because he shot 6 for 15 from field goal, or from the field, then 4 of 8 from 3 and 3 for 5 from the line, finishing with 19 points. But he also had 6 assists. Right. 6 assists a game. That's really, really, really good. That's some of when doing our Pac-12 research, some of the best guys in the Pac-12 as far as assists go, some of the best point guards, they were averaging about 6 assists per 40 minutes of gameplay. Right. So to have 6 assists in just a regular game, that should show you how scary Aiden Holloway is going to be in the future.
Right, he really sees the court great, and not only sees the floor great. He uses change of pace, change of direction, very, very well to make space for himself to get a shot off. A couple of dribble drives early on in the game where he was able to get buckets in the lane, or as you said, distributing the ball around to get those assists. So,
right,
he was very, very, very impressive.
Right, and even with the 3-point shooting, he tossed up, I think it was 3 deep threes that did not go in. So you got to keep that in mind. And he also tossed up 1 really deep 3 that did go in. Right. So he can make it he's a sniper from deep. And shooting 4 for 8 when you're shooting 3 probably miscalculated shots that ended up being heat checks. But yeah, you take away 3 of those shots, you're 4 for 5 from 3. So I think he'll get smarter as he goes along and matures here. And then Jacoby Walter is he's him on offense. He is so good. What did you see out of Jacoby Walter? And maybe what's something that you think Jacoby Walter needs to improve on? Because I know you'd mentioned to me that there's something that you noticed about Jacoby Walter that maybe not everyone else might have noticed.
Yeah, well, I noticed that he, I don't say he didn't play defense, but Baylor tended to put him off ball in the corner and defensive end. And obviously that can serve a couple of purposes. One, maybe, save his energy, save his strength for the offensive end, right? Because he certainly is Walter certainly is their leader and the main flow you'd want the ball flow through. But also when I was watching him earlier in the game, I don't know that I was overly, I don't say impressed. That's a strange word, but I think he was better served being an off-ball kind of guy on the defensive end. So yeah, just something to see again as he progresses, how his defensive end play goes. Is that a strategy that Michigan State will continue to deploy? And then obviously as their opponents, can they take advantage of that? So got to be good at both ends.
Right.
As fun as he is, watch on offensive end. It was as a team, you still got to pay attention to that part of it.
Right, and he made a big IQ play in the first half as well with 14-16 left. He threw the ball when they were up 12-9. He threw the ball off of Aiden Holloway to keep the keep the possession. So definitely needs to he'll probably have to improve defensively based on seeing that they're using him more in an off-ball set. They're trying to keep him away from being the main defender, which makes sense too. He's also more of a wing player than he is a primary ball handler. But he is a guard, so he's going to have to get used to facing the top line of defense. Whoever is ball handling, he's going to have to get used to that at some point. Anything else that you saw from this game that you want to get into before we head to the 10 games of the week?
Yeah, I thought I was speaking about Baylor a little bit more. Like I said early in the game, I thought certainly Auburn had taken the pace and the intensity. First half, to me, this balance of the first half or the second half of the first half, I thought Baylor had kind of caught up. You said they were playing bully ball. I think they were trying to match Auburn's intensity, which they did a good job with that, but I don't think that was really their game. And then in the second half, they were able to channel that energy in more of a Baylor style of way, using their skill sets better and not kind of succumbing to Auburn's. And one stat to back that up, rebounds were tied, right? I mean, you got a physical, strong, chaos-creating team like Auburn, and for Baylor to tie the on rebounds, I thought it was a really important stat to show kind of what they were able to do. 38 was the rebound total. So yeah, that was impressive. Yeah. So yeah, we just kind of wrap up this game. One thing to know, Auburn. I like this quote from Auburn coach Bruce Pearl about the loss. He said, "We held our own, but for me, it was a missed opportunity. This hurts the SEC. This hurts our league. We did not do what we came here to do." That's SEC versus Big 12, big conference battle there. I think it tells you what he feels about how important this game was and in the big picture of things. So I thought that was an interesting quote.
Go ahead.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say Auburn's next opponent, they suit up Friday night tonight against the Southeastern Louisiana on another road game or initial party game. And then Baylor, they took down John Brown last night in their home opener, and they host Gardner Webb and Kansas City next, both at home. So they have a little 3-game homestand. So I just want to kind of give a preview of what's coming next for them.
Should be some wins coming up for both teams here. One thing I want to know is maybe it seems like Bruce Pearl is aware that last year the SEC was ranked second in RPI rankings,
right,
and in conference strength, and the Big 12 was ranked first in conference strength. So it seems like maybe that's why Bruce Pearl was saying that it's a missed opportunity for the entire league is what they were talking about.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt.
So let's move on to the 10 games to watch this week. We're going to rifle through these ones. So first one, College of Charleston at Duquesne this Friday at 6. So tonight at 6 on CBS SN, CBS Sports Network. The reason why you should watch this game is College of Charleston is ranked number 1 in the preseason polls for the CAA, and they made March Madness last year, obviously losing in the first round to future finalist San Diego State. They already beat Iona 71-69 on Monday, and Iona is second in the MAC preseason polls, so a good team. Duquesne is now the number 1 team in the Vegas odds in the A10 after Malachi Smith got injured for Dayton, and VCU lost 76-65 to McNeese on Monday. Duquesne also beat Cleveland State 79-77 on Monday, and Cleveland State is 4th in the Horizon, so they might not be overly a great team this year, but still a competitive team. So this is definitely a game you should pay attention to tonight. Another game that you should pay attention to tonight is number 12, Arizona, at number 2, Duke, at 7 on ESPN2. This is the first time all season, Dad, where we're seeing ranked opponents play against each other, and it's Duke's and Arizona's first big test of the season. They're both number 1 teams for their preseason polls in their conferences. Duke had beat Dartmouth, who is going to be one of the seems like they're voted 7th and 9th in the preseason poll for the Ivy League, so one of the worst teams in the Ivy this year. They beat them 92-54 on Monday, and Arizona beat Morgan State, who's 4th of 8th in their conference preseason poll, and they beat them 122-59 on Monday. My big question is Mark Mitchell going to play or not? I want to see. He was injured for Duke's first game. I want to see him play tonight. It seems like it should be a game that he should play in. Third is Austin Peay at George Mason at 7 as well on ESPN+. Main reason, Austin Peay is 8th in the coaches poll and 11th in the media poll for the A-Sun. Beat Life University 90-72 on Monday, and George Mason is 10th in the preseason poll for the A-10. Beat Monmouth, who is 14th in the CAA, 72-71 on Monday. So not one of these games that's like a high competition or high skill game, but it's we were talking about Austin Peay last week, and also I misspoke. Northwestern State is in the Southland, but Furman is not. Last week I misspoke about that. Furman is the SoCon champion last week, so sorry for misspeaking about that. But it's Austin Peay. They got a lot of players from Northwestern State. This is going to be their first time playing against a D1 opponent together as a team. They beat, as I said, they ended up beating Life University, but that's a D2 opponent. So this is going to be Austin Peay's first time playing a D1 opponent. I'm interested to see how they play together, and I think they're going to finish a lot higher than people project them to in the A-Sun this year. So that's why you should pay attention to that game. Then you got UNC Wilmington at UNC Asheville. Not a Friday game. This is Saturday at 2 on ESPN+. UNC Wilmington is number 2 in the preseason poll for the CAA, behind the College of Charleston, who we talked about earlier. They beat Mount Olive, who's a D2 program, 105-66 on Monday. Then you have UNC Asheville, who's number 1 in the preseason poll for the Big South. They lost to Michigan from the Big Ten, who's 11th in their preseason poll. They lost to them 99-74 on Monday. You also have Pember on UNC Asheville, who's one of the best players in college basketball. That's why you should be paying attention to that game. Then Michigan was impressive in that first win, by the way. I didn't watch it, but certainly looking at the box score and reading about it, I thought that was good to see for that program as well. Nice. Yeah. They're for Juwan Howard's Michigan Wolverines. That's good to see, and I know a couple of my buddies down here are Michigan fans. I don't know if they're huge basketball fans, but they are Michigan fans. So good for them. I was unaware of that, so thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, really excited for and it's UNC versus UNC, right? Wilmington versus Asheville. So it's a battle for Carolina. Then Weber State at number 23, St. Mary's, this Sunday at 8 on ESPN+. Weber State is number 1 in the preseason poll for the Big Sky. They beat Benedictine, a D2 team, 96-62 on Monday. And then St. Mary's is number 1 in the West Coast Conference preseason poll. They beat Stanislaus State, who's also a D2 team, 107-28, Dad. That's a slaughter. They beat them on Monday, and then last night they actually had their first test. They beat New Mexico, who's third ranked in the Mountain West Conference preseason poll. They beat them 72-58 last night. And then here's another test here going against what could be, who knows, maybe this is a March Madness matchup week 1 or round 1. So that's why you should watch this game. You want to break down the last 5 for us, Dad?
Sure. Next game, number 5 Marquette at number 25 Illinois. This is next Tuesday. Marquette is number 1 in the Big East preseason poll, and they beat Northern Illinois 92-70 on Monday this past week. Northern Illinois is 5th in the MAC preseason poll, so a nice victory there for Marquette. They play Rider. It's Illinois, right? Illinois plays Rider.
No. Marquette's playing Rider.
Oh, Marquette's playing Rider. I'm sorry. They beat Gotcha.
Yeah, they beat Northern Illinois.
Oh, I'm reading it wrong. Apologize. Right, they beat them. They play Rider coming up next as well. Illinois is number 4 in their preseason poll in the Big Ten. They beat Eastern Illinois 80-52 on Monday, and they're also playing Oakland, who's number 6 in the Horizon on Friday at 8. Oakland has not only lost to Ohio State by 6 on Monday.
Yes, and that game is at 8 p.m. on FS1 next Tuesday. So that is where you can catch that game. That's going to be another teams that are ranked. Another time, the second time that teams that are ranked are facing off against each other. And then we got one more where teams are facing off against each other that are ranked as well.
Right.
What's that game, Dad?
Next Tuesday, number one Kansas against number 16 Kentucky. Two obviously massive programs facing off each other on Tuesday. So again, another example of these teams, early season fun. Kansas is 1-0. They beat North Carolina Central, who are third ranked in the MEAC conference. They play Manhattan on Friday at 8. Kansas does as well. Manhattan is 11th. They were preseason ranked last in their conference in the MAC. Kentucky comes in at 1-0 as well in this matchup against Kansas. They won handily 86-46 over New Mexico State, who are 8th of 9 preseason ranked in the Conference USA. So this game, Kansas and Kentucky, is 9:30 on ESPN next Tuesday. 9:30, late game for those two.
Yes. Yeah. So well, you got Illinois and Marquette right before it, so you can watch ranked on ranked and then ranked on ranked right afterwards.
Exactly. So next game, we have Duke again. They play Arizona. And now they play against Michigan State next Tuesday. That's 7. Yeah. So Duke, number 2 Duke, number 4 Michigan State, who obviously will drop in the polls. Next Tuesday, 7 p.m. on ESPN. We talked about both programs, both on this episode and the previous program episode. So, just a massive, big early season game to watch those two. Be fun to see how Michigan State responds to their loss. Obviously Duke's got to get through Arizona first to see where they're at. So,
yes.
Yeah, just a barn burner there for sure. Next game, Colgate at Syracuse. That's also next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Colgate, for those of you who don't know, and Syracuse are both very close geographically to each other in central New York State. They play each other every year. Colgate is 1-0 with a 2-point victory, 72-70 over Brown. They are preseason number 1 in the Patriot League. Obviously, they made it to the tournament last year. Syracuse ranks 10 in the ACC preseason poll and come in with a 2-0 record, having beat Canisius 89-77 and New Hampshire 83-72 this week. Canisius and New Hampshire, both small conference teams. Which is a common schedule for Syracuse to play early on. So this game's going to be fun. Like as I mentioned, Colgate and Syracuse play each other every year. In fact, for 54 consecutive years, Syracuse beat Colgate, except for the last 2 seasons of which the tides have turned and Colgate has won. So this will be a really fun one to see if Colgate can continue that recent dominance over Syracuse the last 2 seasons victories.
Right, or if Autry's Syracuse team is legit in their first year under Autry.
Exactly. This will be a good early season test, if you will, for them. Obviously, from a team that has some experience there and recent success. So, and then the last game of the week, we've got Princeton at Duke next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Wednesday is usually a lighter college basketball day, but we got a good, hopefully an exciting game to watch. 7 p.m. on ESPN+. Princeton was able to defeat Rutgers. Big win there for Princeton against maybe what was a hype team for sure in Rutgers, having missed the tournament last year.
They did make the NIT though. They were a number 1 seed in the NIT.
Oh, absolutely, right. But I think there was definitely some energy around them. Maybe getting shorted in the tournament last year. So, anyways, but Princeton handed them up 68-61. Of course, Princeton made the Sweet 16 last year, and they are second in this year's preseason poll in the Ivy League behind Yale. Princeton also will be playing Hofstra, who was 4th in the CAA at 7 p.m. on Friday. And Duquesne, they play College of Charleston, who's ranked 1st in. You mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
In the preseason polls, they play on Friday at 6. Also play Stony Brook, who lost 90-74 to St. John's on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And Rick Pitino's club there.
Yes. But Princeton, as you said, they made the Sweet 16 last year. They beat Rutgers surprisingly. Or maybe surprisingly, who knows? Maybe it's not actually a surprise for people. But they beat them, and then Duquesne's obviously the new favorite to be the number 1. Got to check that game out as well. And let's move into Acorn's Attic after giving away those 10 games that you should be keeping an eye on this week.
That's right.
Let's go with what our topic is today, Dad. What is it?
Yeah, the topic today is controlling the things you can control. That just kind of, what does that mean? Let's break that down a little bit, Curtis.
Right. Well, real quick, we'll get into, as I said, if you're a Christian, don't be afraid to share the gospel. Don't be afraid to share the truth. Each week, I will give away a couple Bible verses that have to do with the topic that we're talking about. So the first one, Isaiah 43, 18 through 19. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. Next comes from 2 Timothy 1, verse 7. For God gave us a spirit of fear, or not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. And then lastly, from Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. And I think that last one really captures kind of what your vision is when you're talking about control the things that you can control. So break it down. What does it really mean to you?
Right, exactly. Well, I would say, let me start with this, with talking about kind of what I think what you can get out of controlling the things you control. One is a reduction in stress and worry in your life. In fact, like the Dalai Lama's quote, if a problem is fixable, if a situation is such that you can do something about it, then there is no need to worry. If it is not fixable, then there is no help in worrying. There is no benefit in worrying whatsoever. So thinking about, kind of what he's saying there is, the worry part in your life, if you approach it this way with breaking things down into what you can control, can help reduce that stress, reduce that worry. The second thing, to me, it often brings clarity to challenging daily situations that you encounter in your life, or problems you might just be stuck on. And then the third element would be, to me, it opens up or to us, I think it opens up your path to your greater future, to your goals that you have in your life. So, how do you go about controlling the things you control, or what do we mean by that? To me, it's breaking down the elements of a challenge into parts. So deciding what parts you fall under your control, what parts are extraneous or things that are a result of somebody else's actions or something else's actions, or random natural things that occur in life that you don't have the capability to do anything. The weather is an easy example, right? We can't control the weather. We can control our actions around what the weather gives to us, right? So that's kind of a very simple, but I think useful thing to think about when we talk about controlling what you can control. I can wear a jacket. I can go swimming to cool down or whatever it might be. I can't change the weather if it's going to rain or if it's going to be 95 degrees out, that kind of thing. And I want to relate this a little bit to basketball as a player. Things you can control, or is your attitude, right? You control your preparation. You can control your focus. Am I listening to the drill that's being handed to me right now, or am I thinking about something else? Am I thinking about what am I going to do afterwards? That kind of stuff. You can control those elements. So if you think about coming to a basketball practice or a game with a positive attitude, I'm going to be a good teammate. I'm going to do all the little things to make things work. I've prepared myself through practices, and I'm going to stay locked in, focused. To me, that's a good way to approach using this element in your basketball world.
Yeah.
Even another example that comes to mind for me is Curtis, this was one you had with your vehicle, right? You got this, a warning indicator on your car, and which has been there. We kind of more or less know the issue, what needs to be fixed, but we're kind of stuck on where do you go about getting this fixed. So taking that and again, kind of educating yourself, learning for yourself. And you've been doing this now and got yourself aligned towards a path to getting that task done by saying, all I need to do is focus on, I've got to find out where it is I need to take this car, and who can I trust to get the car fixed properly, and then you're able. Now I think you got yourself going in a direction.
Right. There. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm in an area where I don't know any mechanics.
Right.
So I don't know who to go to, and then I see someone in my complex that has the same car that I do. So, this is something that I've been stressing about for a while, because the car, it runs fine. It's the starter that, the starting compartment for the car it's just melting away. So it's not understanding the proper amount of air to gas to run every single time. So sometimes I have to press on the pedal to actually get it to start. Yeah, but I see someone with the same car, and I'm like, hey, I'm new to the area. Where do you go? She's like, oh, I go here. I really like it. So, yeah, it was just something that, I wasn't worried about it because I couldn't control, that I didn't know, try to find some information. And one thing, too, is that with this statement, especially when it comes to, daily tasks or something like that, if you have so much to get done in a day, I know in the past, if I had too much to get done in the day, I would just drop everything. Whereas instead you go, you know what, I get a certain amount of, these are the tasks I want to accomplish today, and then start just chipping away at them. Okay, I got this done, I got this done, I got this done, I got this done. Just keep going away at it, and then whatever you can't control or can't get done that day, so you know what, that was out of my control. As you talked about, you can't stop the clock, but you can control what you do within the clock. So right. You get as much done as you can throughout the day while with the time that you have, and then you say, you know what, I wasn't meant to get the rest of this done today, I can do the rest of that tomorrow.
Exactly, that's right. Yep. So hopefully that helped. If you're stuck on problems, I do that. This is a technique I use regularly when I am stuck. If I procrastinate on something, often I'll just, I gotta get this thing done. How do I move the ball forward? How do I get this task done? And oftentimes I'll, as I evaluate it, I go, oh, I'm expecting something from an outside source that isn't going to happen on its own. I need to take control of that item. When you take control of it, and then you decide how research and determine how I can move it forward, then there you go, you get it done. So
absolutely, I think that's a solid Acorns addict for the day. And I think that's all the time that we have at the Accurate Basketball Podcast. So real quick before we head out, I just want to say thank you for watching. You can follow us on X, Instagram, TikTok, along with subscribing on YouTube under the handle Accurate B-Ball. That's ACKERATBBALL. If you have stories you'd like to see us cover or improvements that you'd like to see, please email accurateball@gmail.com. That's the same spelling as the handles. That's ACKERATBBALL. I want to thank you. Signing off for my father, Mark Acker, and myself, Curtis D. Acker. God bless you, and take care. Enjoy your basketball, and continue to go pee. Wait, before you go, just wanted to thank you once again for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at Curtis Acker. You can follow me on Instagram under at Curtis_D_Acker. Also, subscribe to my other YouTube channel, Curtis D. Acker, all together. Once again, wanted to thank you for watching, and God bless you.